Welcome to the Virtual Memories Show. I'm your host, Gil Roth, and we're here to preserve and promote culture, one weekly conversation at a time. You can subscribe to the Virtual Memories Show through iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, and a whole bunch of other venues. Just visit our sites, chimeraobscura.com/VM or vmspod.com to find more information, along with our RSS feed. And follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at VMSPod. It's been an odd week, but odd is normal for this summer, I guess. Work is still in that weird summer doldrums mode, and people just aren't getting back to me about stuff. And I got a ton of podcast work to do for the rest of August, since I've got episode 500 coming up in 2 weeks. And that is a pretty crazy undertaking for what I'm planning to do for that one. And then there's all the guest reading I'm doing for episodes before and after. And for a hot minute, I thought about putting out like 4 or 5 episodes that week of episode 500 to sort of celebrate the big round number and get a jump on the next, megaversary. But I realize that's going kind of overboard, Gil. Why don't you just put out episode 500, maybe one more show that week because there's a guest with a pub date that coincides, and just take it a little easy. No one's going to notice. I'm settled on that, but I'm also, I think, just getting a little anxious about the fall. There's a bunch of business travel that I have ahead of me, and there's coordinating and hosting my own in-person conference and making sure, I don't catch COVID and any of that, and keeping up with the regular weekly pod routine. Those are all going to be remote pretty much. There's a couple that I'll do in person, but I've got to figure out how to get back to what it was like in the before time when every fall was, week upon week of business travel and presentations and all that stuff. But we'll see. This past week, speaking of not catching COVID, I went into New York to meet up with out-of-town guest pal Dmitry Samarov, who wanted to see the Matisse Red Studio exhibition at MoMA, which comes up in the episode you're going to hear. But an anecdote about it. But I did a pretty good job of dealing with being indoors with a lot of people for an hour or so. I stayed masked up the whole time in the museum and the gift shop where I bought some postcards that I can send out to people. But when Dmitry asked about getting lunch, I said, there are some food trucks down the block. Let's hit one of those and eat outside. And we did. And we had a good time. But I tested negative a few days later, so I'm keeping that streak alive somehow. But it was nice. It was a good time with Dmitry. Only spent, maybe 2 hours together, but I officially took an afternoon off from work and just went into the city. And that morning, somebody wrote with a really important work-related question that I had to put off, but I realized they didn't need an answer right away. It was all right. Things can wait. Friends and art are more important sometimes. Which sort of brings us to this week's show, especially the art side of things. See, last week I talked with Dave McKean about Midjourney, AI, machine-generated quote-unquote art, and this time I talked with an art-making machine, the 99-year-old painter Jonah Kinigstein, who cannot stop painting and drawing. Now, we recorded in 2015 when Jonah was 92, but his wife recently reached out to see if I'd be interested in a follow-up so we could celebrate the release of the book of his paintings that came out this summer from Fantagraphics' underground imprint, FU as it's known. The book is Unrepentant Artist, and it is this fantastic coffee table edition of decades worth of Jonah's paintings. And it's printed, it's a big hardcover. It's printed sort of as a flip book. It's got a middle binding or middle cover to it, basically, because one side is landscape-oriented paintings and the other side is vertical or portrait. And it's just amazing to behold. Unrepentant Artist is a striking collection, and it captures a lot of Jonah's key themes, the grotesque circus of religion, the hypersensorium of Coney Island, where he lives, the plight of Jews and the Holocaust, the hollowness of abstract art, and it's all rendered in oil paint on wood, in these, I don't want to say garish, and I've already used the term grotesque, but such vividness he brings to life in this very figurative manner, which is a big chunk of his ideology or philosophy of art. Having seen some of his originals in 2015 as well as this weekend, it's a real treat to see so many of them collected in the book and to understand what a life's project he's made out of art. I mean, I'm a guy who took up drawing at 50, and this is somebody who has been drawing for almost twice that long. Started when he was a child, and he'll be 100 next year. It's, he is an unrepentant artist. He is something. I should also note the other reason his wife, Eileen, got in touch with me. Jonah has 3 paintings in the exhibition More Art of Coney Island, which is held by the Brooklyn Waterfront Artists Coalition. That only runs through August 21st, 2022, so you got about 2 weeks to check that out if you're listening to this in real time. I'll have a link to the exhibit in the show notes here. All of that said, I have to tell you, this is not an easy conversation. To be safe, we had to be masked up. Jonah's hearing at 99 is not as good as at 92. The last couple of years have been tough on him. There were times during this episode, Eileen had to kind of prompt or remind him of a couple of things. And sometimes he misheard my question and just took it in a different direction. But Eileen also helped answer one of my big questions, which Jonah did mishear, which was, how do you guys plan to celebrate Jonah's 100th birthday? So if you want more of the story of Jonah's life, and it's a doozy, along with the explanation of his opposition to conceptual art in favor of the figurative or representational that he's devoted his life to, and the really fascinating backstory of his first collection of political comics, also published by Fantagraphics, The Emperor's New Clothes / The Tower of Babel in the Art World. Go back and listen to that first one we recorded when he was 92. I re-listened to it on the prep for this episode, and it's a really good conversation with somebody who has a lot to say about art. There'll be a link to that in the show notes for this one too. Now here's Jonah's bio from the 2015 Society of Illustrators exhibition of his work, since Unrepentant Artist doesn't have an About the Artist blurb or page. Born in 1923 in Coney Island, Jonah's early influences were discovered during visits to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. He attended Cooper Union for a year before he was drafted into the Army, serving from 1942 to 1945. Soon after, Jonah moved to Paris, where he spent time at the Académie de la Grande Chaumière, conversing with other aspiring artists, exchanging ideas, exhibiting his work, seeing established artists, and generally soaking up a fertile creative environment. He exhibited in several shows in the Salon des Automnes, Salon de Mai, and the Salon des Moines de Trente-Ans, and had one-man shows in the Galerie Breteau and Les Impressions d'Art. You guys know my French pronunciations are terrible, so we're just winging it, okay? After Paris, Jonah moved to Rome on a Fulbright scholarship and studied at the La Scala de Belle Art. After a year, he returned to the U.S. and exhibited his paintings at the Downtown Gallery in Manhattan. Like so many painters, he was unable to make a living solely from painting, so he worked in the commercial art world and did freelance illustration and design. Throughout this time, Jonah's commitment to his own art never wavered, and he continued to paint and occasionally exhibit. His new book is Unrepentant Artist. And now, the 2022 Virtual Memories conversation with Jonah Kinigstein. It's been 7 years since we got together.
Yeah.
You have a new book,
Yeah.
Unrepentant Artist. Tell me how it came together and what it was like to kind of bring all of your work or many of your paintings into a single collection.
Well, it's pretty nice. I mean, I could have had this book, though, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe more. There are older paintings in it. They didn't all come together at one time. But I picked the ones I thought that they were the best, you know, that I did. Mm-hmm. And if I make something better, I save it. You can't help it, you know. They're printed already, you know. Okay.
Yeah, have you been... A few of the pieces in the book came after we had talked in 2015. How much painting have you been doing?
I've been painting the same way every day. Every day, I say, more or less.
Mm-hmm. And when it came to looking over your work and deciding what was the best for the sake of the book, what was it like for you just seeing, you know, or going through your body of paintings and just, you know, what did it feel like, I guess, to
well,
sort of
I'm up against what's being done today, you know. That is the Jasper Johns, you know, the de Koonings and so forth, and that whole group of people who turned against figuration to begin with, you know. Yeah. And after figuration, I'd say they weren't particularly good in my eyes. Mm-hmm. And it's like I'm living in another country.
Yeah.
You know, but the country hasn't been made yet. Right. It seems to me. And so it's a battle I've fought, you know, all the time. I'm down to it now, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I was at MoMA a couple of days ago, the Museum of Modern Art. A friend of mine, an artist friend, was visiting, and they had the Matisse Red Studio exhibition, and it's one of his favorite paintings. So, you know, I came into New York, we went, we had a good time looking at the Matisses, but then he said, let's walk around some of the other collections here at the Modern Art Museum. And we had this one moment where the two of us walked into a room, realized it was the minimalist art, and we both just turned around and walked out instantly. Like the moment we recognized, oh, okay, yeah, we're out of here. And it was... Yeah, it's one of those things where...
Well, times have changed. That's what are you going to say?
Right. But that degree of organizing your work and seeing it brought together like this, did you start to see, I would say, themes or aspects of your own paintings that you maybe didn't see in the process, but once you look at them all together? Do you feel you had different periods, I guess? Do you feel there are different phases in your work?
No, I don't think I went through that thing, no.
It's something I've wondered about with your work, that degree of progression or development. I mean, do you feel like you hit a point and you got what you wanted to do?
Well, some things change, you know. Yeah. There's a whole period where I was surrealistic, doing surrealistic work. Mm-hmm. They were always figurative, though.
Yeah.
And then there was a whole period where I did movies, certain things that happen in movies, that is to say, a beautiful group of people are together, you know. Yeah. Old movies usually.
Like
like
Blue Angel in the book, the Marlene Dietrich.
What's that?
You had the Marlene Dietrich Blue Angel.
Marlene Dietrich, yeah. So I did some of those, And then I did, those are the periods, and then they intermix between those things that I did of Marlene Dietrich and some other, like Sidney Greenstreet, in the same group of people I did.
Did you like Greenstreet just because of the face and the sort of melting features and that grotesquerie, I guess?
Right.
What's changed for your art in the last 6 or 7 years since we talked?
Well, I tried different things, because it moved me, let's say. Certain paintings that I see that I made. I haven't got too many of those in here, I don't think. Mm-hmm. And as I went along, after all, I live now in Coney Island, so close to it. I thought that this type of a thing, like that's on the cover,
the big infernal panorama.
As a matter of fact, now I'm having a show with 3 of these paintings. This is one of the paintings, and I haven't shown any of these, I don't think, before. No, I haven't shown anything before, but I had shows of different things.
Yeah.
Adding lights.
The new paintings.
Huh?
The paintings with the lights.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. That's just a... Oh, yeah, I got some paintings that I put lights into the paintings.
Yeah? Like physical
little lights,
yeah.
They
LED.
light up the whole... The scene might be of Paris during the 14th of July, a big thing. Yeah. And I was moved by that, and different times, but I only made a few of them. It's only, let's say... and I have gems on some paintings. They're not here, but I got them upstairs. Mm-hmm. I started to put gems, if it was from a scene, a princess scene, so I got the gems that I put in to almost sparkles the painting, And so I do it when I think I could get away with it. That is to say, it's... And there are no paintings in here with the lights, But at certain times I did use them, and you either can use them or not use them, And that's how it changed, Mm-hmm. So if there's been any changing, not big changes. These paintings can live with or without the lights, But I thought it would be a nice thing to do if the subject called for maybe it.
Yeah, Bastille Day, Paris. That's definitely. Yeah, I've my big change is that I started drawing and doing watercolors in the last year and a half, and I never drew in my life until I turned 50, and now I'm trying to make up for lost time. It's a degree of just learning to see and learning to draw. I haven't taken any classes, but I just I had this urge, and I've started revisiting some of the painters who I've talked to kind of get a better idea now that I've actually played with art a little bit to understand what it's like to make something. And to make it without a sense of an audience, I guess.
Without an audience?
Yeah, I know...
always, practically all the time, I got no audience, except myself.
and I wonder, experiencing that now for myself, I wonder what it's like for, real artists like yourself to keep creating. In your case, you've been rebelling against an era for 60 plus years now of the conceptual and the ab-ex. I don't want to ask, does it feel futile, but, do you feel like you've made something?
Well, I think I have, for myself. I mean, so many things. I can't even explain all the things, but I'm not making for anyone but myself, in a way, hoping that maybe somebody will understand. They felt like I do at a certain time, And so for those, it's an extra thing to find what I'm saying,
Yeah.
And I generally don't make portraits. I used to make them, but I don't make them anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, I never saw exactly what's here, but I had a feeling of this whole thing, how it felt to me.
Yeah.
Going there, and I don't think they had this thing. They had what?
The hellhole.
Hellhole. Yeah, I think that existed.
Yeah.
I don't think it exists anymore. And all that, I got a lot of them I made, about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And in the show that I have now, did you ever hear about this show?
Another one of the artists mentioned it, Jen Ferguson. She mentioned that there's the Brooklyn waterfront
I got 3
artists.
paintings, of the fronts. One is Hellhole, one is the devil, It's the things that really were, in a way. I don't know. I don't think they have them now like that. You get a ride all the way up.
I think they've commercialized Coney Island to get rid of the fun.
And I thought that was a great subject to do.
Yeah.
Very few artists, I think, used it. I think it was very moving at the time. I mean, in my own head, all of these figures that are around here, the nude figures, like it was like the German people, the soldiers, having put into a room and killed them all. It has the feeling of going into this thing. I mean, it didn't look like this, but that's the way it felt.
Yeah, it starts to, yeah.
Anyhow, I took something that's like for kids or for other people, a fun thing, and I reversed it a little bit. That's it.
Brought the grotesque, and the spirit of death in the middle of life. So,
right.
Yeah, it's a recurring, aspect of your paintings is the grotesque, finding a beauty in the grotesque as it.
The back of the book.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. These are the temptations of Saint Anthony.
Yeah.
The things that might tempt him, the different things, the sexual attempt, and the feeling that all these monsters are watching him and speaking to him. I did a few of these kind of things, reversing a little bit the Bible, and it's a great subject. Temptations of what they made some marvelous things of it. I thought it was a great subject.
Mm-hmm. And using Catholic imagery instead of our Jewish imagery, that's a.
Yeah.
Catholics are great with temptation and guilt. So, is it sort of natural to pick this stuff? Yeah. So, when you talk about painting every day, the last 2.5 years we're doing this show in masks and everything. How has the pandemic been? How has it been for you in terms of making art and just
it hasn't really affected me that way.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think in those terms, but all the other things I had to do, may suggest this kind of a pandemic, But to go directly to it, no, I didn't paint anything like that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it's reflected in any of the newer things you've been making. So. Have you been doing comics, by the way? Or are you still doing the comics, the cartoons and illustrations? And,
I still make cartoons.
Yeah.
Sure.
I wasn't sure if you're focused solely on painting.
But I still draw. I mean, I got loads of stuff that nobody ever saw, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And also, sometimes the political, what happens politically affected me, Mm-hmm. What seemed like it was obvious, was getting in my way, And so I have some things that are, in my drawings especially, I have certain paintings that I made about it. Yeah. That's true.
It was...
Yeah, it was.
Mentally, it could really...
But you take a thing like Trump... I got a million things about him, And I try to paint it, but not like you might see today, his face or something. I distorted everything, Mm-hmm. And I still wanted to make a good painting out of it.
Yeah. Do you get to galleries or museums, or have you been pretty much... staying
I didn't get to any galleries, really. I was in a lot of galleries, But, I didn't take, they didn't take to me, and I didn't take to them, you know what I mean? And so paintings like this, paintings like on his back, and then there's some, I really have to explain it to somebody if they don't understand it. Mm-hmm. And I can get close, but I may not have all the things that I felt about things.
Yeah.
And if you go through the book, you'll see, you've gone through it, I don't know, a lot of things in here. And of course, religion, which is a thing that bugged me a little all the time. Yeah. So I make a fun out of them by making a circus out of them, Yeah. And I think that's pretty obvious when you look in the book. Yeah.
And the sort of thing that some people will really appreciate and other people will get angry about.
Yes. I mean, it's not even the new paintings that you see out. It's not, I don't even understand them, I mean, I was modern, if we can call that modern,
Yeah.
I moved so far, but I always had a subject. And whether it was to make fun of the religious area or to just make fun of them, you know? And I tried that a lot of ways. I made like a man who's in a circus who comes out, like even in Coney Island, trying to sell what he's got inside behind. And I compared that to anybody who's trying to get away with something, Naked lady, sword swallower. All these things, that I thought they're very colorful,
Yeah.
But maybe that's where it stops,
It's the huckster mentality, whether it's gimmicks or salvation, I guess.
So my subject matter, I couldn't do certain things. I couldn't do like nice, you might call it nice, scenic things, No, I never was on that thing. Mm-hmm. If the scenic thing had some magic about it, I would go after the magic quality of the scene.
Yeah.
And that's the way I worked.
Mm-hmm. Some of the paintings that really struck me were the and this is because I'm a Jew from Eastern Europe, the Exodus paintings of the Jews, either fleeing or being, some of your paintings about the Jews and the Holocaust were ones that I found.
Oh
really,
yeah, there's always that in the side.
Yeah.
A suggestion of the Holocaust. I've got paintings that are just the Holocaust. People walking over a bridge, casting long shadows on the bridge as they go, and the Christ. One of the sculptures on the thing, casting shadows on the figures that are going across. You can see it. It's very clear, that one. It's because people are walking across with wearing, having satchels or other stuff. They're going to some other, not knowing where they're going.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's a scene that I ought to paint. So I made quite a few of those.
Do you remember when you found out about the Holocaust? I know you were in the war. You were primarily in Asia. Do you remember when the details really started?
Talking about before I got into the war.
I know. Well, things really started coming out after the war as to how bad things really were. I just don't know what it was like to have those sorts of things, start to show up in the news in your day-to-day life. It's history for me.
Yeah.
And, for you, it was current events.
Well, I knew what they were up to, before I got into the army. Mm-hmm. And I knew about this, how this struck me, how ridiculous, this man was, Hitler. And so I made paintings along those lines, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you see anyone working in the figurative space? Like you? Is there anyone not contemporary, but people today?
Resemble?
Yeah.
If you speak about that, then we have to go into my drawings.
Yeah.
Because my drawings do have certain figures you'll recognize right away, like Trump, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, the distortion of politics. I've drawn that, and I've painted a few of those pictures.
Yeah.
And I think about what's all of this come to, We have now people, who are artists who have nothing to do with politics, have nothing to do with beauty, essentially. It has to do with a guy scratch the canvas, make a cross, a zero, simple things like that. And this is...
Yeah,
and
gets
then
treated
they get
as art. Yeah.
Great reviews about this. They convince certain people about this is the greatest, No pictures, nothing even... You can't even compare it to. It's a different world. If it is, it's not a great world, to me.
Do you see contemporary artists? Are there any, contemporaries who you...
That I like?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some, Yeah. I liked Freud.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, there were people like Jack Levine, And also, he was friends with this guy, Jack Levine, when they were young. And that was, trying to think of his name. It'll come to me. There was quite a few people I liked. Yeah. It's not like I'm alone, you know. But sometimes I feel like I'm alone, I'll tell you that.
That's a big question I've had since we talked. When we talked 7 years ago, a few times you mentioned how everyone you knew was gone. All the artists and friends you'd outlived. It's been 7 more years. How are you?
Change?
Yeah. What's it like being the survivor, I guess?
Not so much.
No.
I'm for figuration. I'm for it. I always was. I mean, of course, I like some figures better than others. And I don't like all the things that, all the people that you see, all names all over the place, you know, and that's all. But it has a lot to do, I think, with the architecture.
Yeah.
The architecture's wiped everything, you know, except clean walls, you know. And so anything of that nature doesn't interest me particularly. I mean, you can't really, I think, I don't know what they're expressing, and if I don't know what it is, and I've gone to a lot of painting periods, but not like that.
Yeah.
And all the people who are painters and are still alive, I don't know how they got there, you know, when people talk about them. Yeah. Nothing interests me there. You ever hear of Hyman Bloom? Hyman Bloom.
No.
He was a good friend of Jack Levine. When they were young, they both came from Boston, you know, and they had a very good teacher, as I read about. And I saw his paintings. I tell you, he was pushing the idea of religion.
Yeah.
Terrific, I thought. They were terrific. Did you know any of his work?
No, I've got to look him up once I get home.
You got to look Hyman Bloom up? Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what? He wasn't very popular, but he was terrific.
Yeah.
You see some of his rabbis and stuff like that. I don't think he was a religious guy, but I tell you, he made some pretty great paintings.
When you're painting Jews, do you feel like you have to be a little careful? In terms of stereotypes, like if you paint us, you know, the nose,
make cartoons out of figures.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to do that with everyone else.
No, I don't
Jews
play it
is
that
always
way.
Yeah, okay.
Somehow, I tell you, I make a religious Jew. He's holding the Torah.
Yeah, you convey it through the props and
he's got
imagery.
the whole thing. That whole schmear that he's got on his chest from the Torah, and what he's wearing, and the hat, and the beard, you know. There's some subject that I love, you know.
Yeah, that let's say pageantry or the big. In keeping with the Jews and Catholics thing, they do sort of connect when it comes to the big imagery and the colors. Yeah. But yeah, I had just wondered, you know, did you ever feel like you had to be a little careful with representing Jews?
No.
Just to not...
I'm not particularly Jewish.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they got a raw...
Historically, yes, we've had a tough time. It made me think of some etchings of Rembrandt of Abraham sacrificing Isaac, and Abraham is very
Did he
very anti-Semitically looking Jewish, and so there's a degree of you know images we get, but you know that we have to be careful with what we make. So, now, were you a Philip Guston?
Excuse me?
A Philip Guston fan?
Yeah, at first. And then what happened to Philip Guston? No, I don't like it, though.
When he went into the...
Yeah, he went into cartoons, you know, and I know, he made all those ghost figures. I mean, they were the...
those Klan masks, yeah.
No, that was just... I don't know what the hell it was, really. I mean, I didn't like it. Philip Guston began when he was younger to really paint. He made some interesting paintings, I thought. And then, I don't know, he went along with the other guys, just made cartoons out of them.
Yeah. Yeah, he'd always, well, from what I read, he would talk about, working out, the deep things in his mind by, exploring those images. But yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I don't know for you as an artist whether you feel you're exploring things deep in your own mind.
What's that?
With your art, do you feel you're reacting to the outside world, or are you wrestling with things inside more? I guess that's...
I think I do both.
Yeah?
I get some things that reveal themselves on one side that reflect from something that was here. I do it over here, and but it always has to be in some way recognizable. I mean, I can't see the abstract. Yeah. To me, you know what, it was an idea, but it went too far. It just went too far. And so you really don't, well, they're just not for me. That's all. Yeah.
Do you have any celebration in mind for your 100th birthday?
A celebration?
Yeah. Do you plan on, how do you plan on celebrating 100?
100th? Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything special.
Okay.
No.
Plan on painting?
Huh?
Gonna paint that day?
I'm going to paint it?
Yeah. Or do some painting that day.
See, if you turn around, you look at that painting. I painted a while back, and I hung it up because I really liked it. You know what I'm saying? It's something that it moved me, the idea of the devil and the guy trying to buy the woman from the devil, and he's got some beads to offer, He's going to make an exchange. And I think that's a interesting thing. So I tried it that way. I mean, on the bottom, you got the hellhole right there on a banister. On the other side, we got the chemists and all the things that this is Dr. So-and-so, and he worked with all of these things. He's buying love with a few beads.
For his 100th birthday, maybe we'll go back to Paris.
What?
We'll go back to Paris.
Oh, yeah, Paris. Right.
We were there, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
And it was remarkable how much we did.
Yeah.
I think returning to Paris probably would be our 14th trip.
Mm-hmm. And Paris is still your favorite place in the world?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
Yep. I was younger then, too.
Yeah, well, that's a line that the greatest place in the world is wherever you were in your 20s, because you're pretty much at the height of your power. But yeah. Is there something you want to paint? Huh? Is there something you want to make that you have not made?
Oh, no, all the subjects I have, I've made before, or parts of them, and I've made them a little differently, I mean, if you open this book and you see certain pictures,
Yeah, the dating, for like seeing the dates and knowing where they were in your history was useful.
Well, I mean, I'm struck a lot by the saints. Yeah. Which is a bit of a joke. And so, but they're good artistically, When you make a saint, he's always got this halo around his head. Yeah. And it's a terrific thing to paint, I think. And you feel like the guy who did this is either making fun or he relates somehow to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah. Is that ambiguity, the ambivalence of being, this and that. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a beautiful collection. I'm awfully glad Fantagraphics put this together. Seeing a good sample of your work together like this,
well,
it's meaningful.
This is a good book, I think.
Yeah.
But I got more books. Nobody published them.
Yeah.
In order that I put together pencil and loads of things like that. Maybe they'll get published too.
This has been great, Jonah. Thanks so much for coming on again, and I hope we'll be back next year to celebrate 100 with you.
Okay, let's hope so.
And that was Jonah Kinigstein. His new art book, Unrepentant Artist, came out this summer from Fantagraphics Underground. You can get it through the Fantagraphics website. It's beautiful. It's this phenomenal collection of oil paintings from a singular, driven painter over decades of his life. And it really captures the grotesqueries and abundance of life and its follies. It's got anger, beauty, and if there's a God, it's in the stroke of the brush, Now, Jonah, as you can imagine, is not on social media, doesn't keep a website, and as we all know, that's for the best. If you're listening to this in real time, you can check out a few of Jonah's paintings at More Art of Coney Island, an exhibition at Brooklyn Waterfront Artists Coalition, and that's running through August 21st, 2022. Now, you can support the Virtual Memories show by telling other people about it. Just let them know there's this podcast out there with this guy who just keeps recording interesting conversations with really fascinating people every week. You can also help out the show by telling me what you like and don't like about it, and who I should record with, and what movie or TV show or book or piece of music or art exhibition or theater or whatever you think I should turn listeners on to. And you can do that by writing me, send me an email, send me a postcard, send me a letter. I really love postcards. Or leave a message on my Google Voice number, which is 973-869-9659. That goes directly to voicemail, so you don't have to worry about getting stuck in an awkward conversation with me. Messages can be up to 3 minutes long, so if you're going to go longer, just call back and leave another one. And let me know if it's okay to include your message in an upcoming episode of the show. I would never do that without the speaker's permission, but if you've got something you want to share with the listeners, go ahead. Now, if you've got money to spare, don't give it to me. My day job treats me fine. This one did involve some expense with gas money, tolls, etc., getting out to Coney Island. But really, my expenses are pretty minimal, all things considered. So if you do have resources to spare, I hope you'll support individuals and institutions in need. You can find people through GoFundMe, Patreon, Kickstarter, Topato.go, and other crowdfunding platforms. If you're looking for somewhere to start with institutions or foundations, I give to my local food bank, I give to the Poor People's Campaign, I make targeted political contributions. There are a lot of things you can donate to: freedom funds, election funds, Planned Parenthood, women's choice, abortion. There are areas where you can try to help build a better world through your contributions. So I hope you will. Our music for this episode is Fella by Hal Mayforth, used with permission from the artist. You should visit my archives to check out my episode with Hal from the summer of 2018 and learn more about his art and painting. And you can listen to his music at soundcloud.com/Mayforth. And that's MAY4TH. And that's it for this week's episode of the Virtual Memories Show. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back next week with another great conversation. You can subscribe to the Virtual Memories Show and download past episodes at the iTunes Store. You can also find all our episodes and get on our email list at either of our websites, vmspod.com or chimeraobscura.com/VM. You can also follow the Virtual Memories Show on Twitter and Instagram at VMSPod, at virtualmemoriespodcast.tumblr.com, and on YouTube, Spotify, and TuneIn.com by searching for Virtual Memories Show. And if you like this podcast, please tell your pals, talk it up on social media, and go to iTunes, look up the Virtual Memories Show, and leave a rating and maybe a review for us. It all goes to helping us build a bigger audience. Now, you've been listening to the Virtual Memories Show. I'm your host, Gil Roth. Keep reading, keep making art, and keep the conversation going.